Thanks everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we will see method 2, how to configure Terraform with AWS. So in the previous video, we have seen how to configure Terraform with AWS by passing that environment variable. But the drawback is when we can log out and log in the server, again we need to export that environment variable. So to overcome this, so using second method, we can permanently configure for that AWS credentials file as a secret key and access key. Then whenever you can try to log out and log in also, the credential should be there. You no need to export or you no need to configure again and again. Okay, so that is where if you want to configure that Terraform with AWS for the method 2, you need to make sure the AWS CLI should be installed. And after that, the keys are needed, which is called secret key ID and access key. So even existing keys also fine, or even we can create that new keys and you can execute this AWS configure command actually. So go to here. So you should have to go to that sudo su because the root user has that full privileges. So here AWS configure, enter, then it is asking that AWS access key. So I think already configured. Anyway, I am showing again. So this is that my access key, enter. Then it is asking that secret key. So I have enter. Then after that, so my default reason is this is the one only. Then JSON format is enough. So make sure this AWS configure command I have executed from that root user. So you have to verify in the root user home directory only. If you can execute this AWS configure command in that normal home Ubuntu user, then that will be created. Let's say I have logged out again. Now see cd.aws. See, nothing will be there. Now let's execute in the home Ubuntu also. So I am trying to execute the same command from the Ubuntu user as well. So this is the now see actually the first time it doesn't showing actually here started showing now. So then after this I'm executing giving that secret access key. Then the default reason I am giving as this. Then after that the output format JSON default, that is enough for me. Now cd.aws should be created under home directory. This is my home Ubuntu user home directory. The moment when we can enter this AWS configure command from that Ubuntu user, the AWS folder will be created as a AWS under that Ubuntu location. See here home Ubuntu, this is my user home location. Here I have told there are two files, one is for credentials file and another one is for config file. So credentials file having that access key and secret key, whereas config file having that what is the region, what is the JSON, what is the format, everything should be there actually. Now what you need to do, you need to make sure whether that authentication is working or not. So using that AWS EC2 describe instances, enter. Now see authentication is happening. So some spelling mistake, make sure describe spelling, enter. Now see it is giving something, so that means authentication is happening. So let's say I am grep -i Terraform, enter. Now see Terraform is showing. Then these are the servers which are there in my console, server A, server B. You can go to here, see Terraform core is there, server A, server B is there. So that means authentication is happening. Now what you can do, you can duplicate this, you can log in Ubuntu, enter. Then again you can execute the same command what you executed. So now I am not doing anything actually, just doing this. See here it's showing. That means this whatever that AWS configure we did, that is permanently it will store the credentials file actually. Okay, you no need to configure again and again. So when we can go to that first method, we should have to do export every time. So this is the major difference. So most of the cases we can use AWS configure command only, and make sure, and this should be used AWS command lines, and even AWS S3LS. If you can enter, it will show the buckets if it is there. Now it is not there, so that means it's not listing the buckets. Okay, even if you can go to the sudo su, so I was there in that root user, you need to go to the root user, and here you should have to find out. See here .aws folder is there. That means the first here only we have executed. So here two things. Even from here also it will execute AWS, describe some command is there. If you can enter, this should work actually, because we have configured that AWS configure from the root user also. See here. Okay, so make sure whenever you can execute this AWS configure command, from which user you have to execute, you need to check. Okay, so you can go to that user home location. There are two files, one is credentials file and config file is available. So, and make sure the connectivity is happening from here to there. So from now onwards, whenever you can write that Terraform scripting, we can able to connect from this server to AWS. Okay, so these are the two ways we can configure Terraform with AWS. So could you please go through it? If any doubts, could you please comment in my channel, but make sure you can get that different. The first method, every time you can log out and log in the server, we need to export as an environment variable. Whereas second method, you no need to execute or configure every time. The first time you should have to configure. Here the benefit is even you can log out and log in also, the credentials file should be same actually. So it is available. You no need to configure it again. Okay. So thank you everyone. If you haven't subscribed my channel, could you please subscribe, and could you please share it and like it.